So let us therefore have a look at information that was released just today about the Heavenly Spear DLC, and that's gonna be coming up later this year. It is gonna be coming. The most important piece is 30th September, so they're gonna be apparently holding practically true to what they have done with the releases of Age of Mythology lately. So as you can see, we are gonna be also, if you're gonna be wanting to buy it now, that's gonna be 15% off, and I'm thinking that the price tag is 20 euro, if I'm not mistaken. Let's have a look. Which, yeah, you can see now 20 is the base, right now 17. Of course, if you are having the extra version, the deluxe version, which also was gifted to me by ChronoJJ, so thank you very much for that yet again, then you already have it. This is the second DLC that is already paid for. If you bought the deluxe edition, but nonetheless the price pool and price tag rather seems maybe a bit high regarding kind of like the customs, let's say, in the Age of franchise currently, but in reality it's not really that much, because I mean, like, even Titans, for example, 20 years ago, classic data discs were basically half the cost of a new game. So this is the same. I mean, like, Retold is also 40 if I'm not mistaken. Thinking it is 50 actually. Oh, that's the premium edition. Standard is 30. No, well, in that comparison, that's actually kind of steep. I was kind of thinking it's maybe 40, but nonetheless, it actually makes sense because it's the same as extended edition. So it is definitely some higher cost in there. No, well, but up to you, of course. I don't think it's anything all that super bad. Depends, of course, on the execution in there in the end. But, well, that's something you're gonna be having to learn about a bit later. So, for some further info, this is something that we have already known before, right? That 12 gods, no, basically classic new Pantheon, new myth units with that as well, full campaign, 12 mission 1, you got power stacks and everything else with expanded skirmish and arena of the god experiences. If you are into all of those, no, and pre-order is evidently right now ready for all the platforms currently, wherever you wish to be playing that. No, and therefore, let's get into actual new things. So we're gonna be having 3 major gods. It's gonna be therefore Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun, then also Tsukuyomi, good god of the moon, and the last one is gonna be Susanoo. Not entirely certain if it's a pronunciation Susanoo or is it like Susanoo or whatnot, but I'm gonna be going with Susanoo so far. And god of chaos and storm, so feel free to correct me if I'm not having something right. Definitely could happen. I'm not really deep into Japanese lore or anything along those lines, not really. So, classic 12 powerful gods, the minor ones as well in there included, and new roster of units including ninjas, mythical creatures, and divine campaign filled with honor, chaos, and celestial power. So we are going to be having their major strengths and, of course, even for the god power. So solar shield for Amaterasu, target the unit to make it temporarily nearly invulnerable. Very interesting is the notion of nearly. Because just like first when I'm seeing this is super abusable in early classical age. Just like already imagine the Greek heroes and how they are kind of hated for their power in the early classical. This is playing exactly into that same position in the game. So this does have a potential to be extremely toxic for gameplay. Depends, of course, what's gonna be the early classical age and late dark age or archaic age actually looking like. It's gonna be like for the Japanese, but yeah, I'm definitely seeing the nearly here, why it's there. But still see that maybe it could be some kind of problem maker in there. But we'll see. Anything that's gonna be just given some kind of almost invulnerability or anything along those lines is always a challenge for any kind of balancing, because it does tend to be created in specific situations where it's just stupid. Now, for Tsukuyomi, we're gonna be getting New Moon, target the building to obtain all currently available technologies there for free. This is kind of insane, to be honest, and cause military units to train faster for a short duration. Again, you can definitely see a theme already right now from those 2 god powers. The Japanese are gonna be basically meant for early game, so somewhat of a replacement of Atlanteans, you could almost say, because they used to be that way in the original game, the Atis, and now it looks like the Japanese are gonna be taking that role, kind of. I'll be also getting into some further details how they're also encroaching very strongly into the Norse territory. But yeah, target the building to obtain all currently technologies for free is... no, looks kinda strong. very much depends if they're gonna be having one building, for example, for economical upgrades. Right? So if they would be having like one silo or whatnot, then there's evidently going to be quite a nice use case for that, right? Getting some insta economical bonus. So this also does have quite a potential to be broken in certain scenarios. So we're gonna have to see what kind of like building distribution they actually have, if that's gonna be making sense or not. Where this could be also dangerous, in my opinion, if it's gonna be targetable also on temple, because myth unit upgrades immediately. I mean, like, imagine the Yazis, right? For example, at this point, they're already kind of broken currently, and if you get the upgrade practically instantaneously, you get instant or kind of faster creation of the Yazis at the start, if you would be having the favor for that, of course, that's a prerequisite. So there are potential scenarios where this could be stupid, but again, without further knowledge of the mechanisms of the civilization, we don't entirely know how it's going to be, but I can imagine scenarios where it's broken. But Kusanagi, target location for Susanoo to cast down his sword, Kusanagi. The sword damages nearby enemies and summons a riptide that blasts them skyward. Now that's practically Shockwave. So that's practically Shockwave fused with Gulin Bursty. That's like both of these together. No, maybe actually direct the Gulin Bursty, you could say. So basically not gonna be movable, it's gonna be only on one spot, but it's very similar. So remember when Gulin Bursty after release was having that initial kind of like the meteoric income, how it was actually doing a lot of damage and how it was used specifically as a damage dealer to units? Oh, that's this, right? So I can definitely see the inspiration. At the same time, it also at this point seems already a bit on the... Oh, simply running out of ideas, it feels to me. Because it already is clearly rehashing. The first two are okay, they are fairly new. But this last one is way too familiar to what we already have. But if it's gonna be just one thing, then that's quite a bit fine, I guess. But yeah, it's already something that I was mentioning before, that they are running out of things to actually add into the game, especially since they've also added plenty things on Retold in general. I think they have unfortunately quite significantly reduced their design space with way too many changes at the start, which could have been very easily introduced for like new civilizations, new gods and stuff. They just shot themselves in the foot. Absolutely needlessly. But well, maybe they from the start knew they don't want to be having too many new civilizations, so who knows, maybe that's why they were actually doing that. But well, nonetheless, all new Japanese Pantheon myth units, you can see right now some confirmation of the names for Asura, Yorogumo and Umibozu. Thinking that in the previous video on the first release of the information, I have a few speculations what this boy is going to be. And we'll have two dedicated previews of the new myth units coming to Age of Mythology Retold with the Heavenly Spear expansion. So keep your eye out for the sneak peek coming soon. Now, of course, it's a month until Gamescom, where we're going to be having, of course, presents for the Age of. It's gonna be, of course, this, probably some kind of playable teaser, same as last year for this, and probably should be also having some information on Age of Empires 4 DLC, because there should be a second one somewhere in autumn. So myth units blend iconic Japanese folklore with inventive gameplay mechanics. So Kitsune, that's, I think this is what we have already seen before. So that's the classic fox spirits, serve as scouts and strengthen nearby units, making them perfect for intelligence gathering and supporting raids. This is already, no, at this point with a bit more knowledge on the Chinese, and for example, typically civilians, and how problematic they can be if you get enough of an army of those, like 5 for example, and their group healing. Kitsune might be heading into similar direction as far as the buffing. If you're gonna be getting too many of them, it might be a problem. And I think this is gonna be interestingly playing into what you're gonna be learning a bit later about like how the civilization works in general. I'm already kind of seeing the combinations that players are gonna be having an opportunity to abuse. Shinigami is a terrifying spirit who shouts scares away enemies and who responds into a more powerful form when defeated. So this is kind of like slightly new mechanism, right? This is something that you see in RPGs everywhere, like a classic fear effect, that the units are just gonna get affected and running away, right? So that's gonna be the classic, and that is something that we have in Age of Mythology yet. It's a bit interesting, basically different version of like a Shockwave or the special attack from the boars, practically, or Minotaur. Actually, when I'm thinking about it, it's gonna be practically the same mechanism, just differently called. They're just not gonna be thrown into air, they're just gonna be walking away on their own. But the effect is gonna be kinda similar, I guess. Interesting. Tengu, Winged Master Swordsman who leap into battle. So I guess practically Anubites. Or Yazi. So therefore definitely also some potential for brokenness yet again there. No, and well, new game mechanic. This is right now already something that we have of course mentioned in the first reveal, that this is gonna be how the civilization is gonna be most probably gearing up to be, and that is therefore gonna be Bushido. So in Age of Mythology Retold, all Japanese soldiers generate XP in battle, fueling the Bushido meter. Elite warriors trained at the dojo, such as samurai and shinobi, gain XP faster and even contribute passively outside of combat. So Hersers and Norse, practically Norse. Like, that's absolutely Norse. So at this point, this is, frankly, this is already going design bankrupt because they just don't know what to do next, and therefore they're already cannibalizing like major mechanisms of other civilizations. This is something that I do not like. In general, I can say that I like the idea, that it's not entirely too tragic. I'm gonna be getting into possible problems in just a moment. But the fact that you already have practically this mechanism in the game, no, that's leaving a bit of a sour taste maybe on my tongue a bit. Legitimately is the same thing practically here, just obviously gonna be having like a slightly different effect. So Japanese are gonna be very similar to specifically Loki, I guess you could say. So they are certainly borrowing from other civilizations, even if they got powers, for example, in there that we have mentioned earlier. So each tier of Bushido grants 3 line upgrades, medium, heavy, and champion, for your human soldiers, regardless of which age you are currently in. This is actually kind of insane. And these upgrades can also be researched normally at a reduced cost. This is interesting that it's gonna be tying into the researches in there. At a reduced cost with the discount scaling based on your progress toward the next tier. I'm not entirely certain if this is not too OP. I understand what they're trying to do here, but at the same time, this is gonna be the first place to nerf if it's gonna be too broken, and I'm almost certain it's gonna be stupidly broken, this mechanism. Because, I mean, like, you know what happens now, right? You're gonna be, basically Japanese are meant to be a huge classical age fighting machine. And you're gonna be actually such a fighting machine that you get even champion upgrades. You don't have to be jumping ages, you just get the upgrades right there. And you do know in certain situations how the classical fighting is super powerful due to a higher pop limit. And frankly, the Japanese seem to be aiming exactly to be like a powerhouse at that. So basically full in and all in classical, and let's go. Depends, of course, how strong the units are going to be. If they're gonna be kind of like glass cannons, which wouldn't be entirely too realistic, but you have to be somehow balanced in the game, I guess. But if they will be glass cannons and die too easily, then it might be not entirely as broken, but if they're gonna be like normalish units, then this can escalate incredibly quickly, in my opinion, into absolutely stupid proportions. Because obviously the line upgrades are gonna be good, and the reduced cost here, basically like even jumping up, because what you're gonna be trying to do, right, theoretically, maybe get like the first upgrade, the medium, because it's gonna be cheap, and then you're gonna be already heading into the more expensive ones through the fighting. So what you're probably gonna be trying to do is get first upgrade quick, and then already get the experience for the next ones, so that you don't waste it on the cheap one. That's, in my opinion, what maybe could happen. Also, by the way, question is if the XP is gonna be generated against animals, like for example, favor is generated for Norse. Very much open question, but I'll be kinda doubting that. But depends what kind of mechanism they choose to copy from the game, if it's gonna be there for having the same effects or not. But I can really see some nasty scenarios with this. So this is gonna be a tough one to balance, in my opinion. But we'll see. And this one, again, I'm thinking this is unnecessary. I'm actually thinking this is a bit counterproductive. That it would be probably a bit better if there wasn't any kind of reduction in the cost, if you wanted to be quickening it up. But nonetheless, we'll see. Advancing a tier in Bushido will also provide a unique bonus from your major god. So you can see they are all about that. So they are basically like motivating you to really play all in classical. I wonder if there's gonna be some reasoning to go for heroic ages, maybe some kind of good god powers and minor gods maybe, theoretically. That could possibly happen. Amaterasu is gonna be providing increase in gold trickle per tier. Some kind of flood of the Nile, or Vault of Erebus rather. That's the gold. Kind of fueling into that whole idea to spam the army. Tsukuyomi increases cavalry and shinobi attack power per tier. So you're gonna be even actually further increasing the damage. No. Again, look at that. This is just like all aiming for the all-in machine. And Susanoo is gonna be granting an immediate favor reward upon reaching each tier. No. Theoretically, basically allowing you to ignore maybe favor generation. We still don't know how they are gathering favor. My personal guess is maybe some kind of shrines, because you always see shrines in all the Japanese games, or Japanese involved kind of focus games. So maybe it's gonna be something like gardens from the extended edition Chinese taken over, and considering that they are overtaking mechanisms, maybe that also is gonna be a thing. So yeah, could be kind of like some natural addition of the myth units beyond that. Because otherwise, with how the game is and how they are designed here, it looks like maybe myth units are not gonna be playing that much of a prime role. You're gonna be really just gonna wanting to focus the normal army a lot more. We'll see, I guess. So new maps, units, new gameplay, unleash the might of 12 new gods, playstyle, strategic possibilities. Okay, awaken Raijin's thunderous drums, send whole armies flying across the map with Fujin's smite and gust, or even summon Watatsumi's swirling dragon typhoon to devastate your enemies. Each Japanese god offers unique ways to dominate the battlefield. Yeah, it kind of seems like that it's gonna be some copies of god powers, just maybe some different element involved in there, but very similar ideas. Like send armies flying across the map, that's gonna be something similar to maybe like the flood from Gong Gong maybe. Battle across 6 new multiplayer and skirmish maps. It's looking forward to those, but frankly, with how they have changed the maps in Retold, no. Not entirely all that confident they're gonna be heading into the correct direction. Probably rather actually stay in the same course that they have introduced with Retold, which is a bit of a shame, but nonetheless has to be said that some of the maps on the Chinese expansion were actually kind of cool. Like the steppes and... what is the other one? Bamboo Grove are fairly interesting designs, offering a certain way of playing. Steppe needs to be definitely decreasing on the goat count, but overall, we'll see what they're gonna be adding. Inspired by the sacred mountains, misty forests, and mythic landscapes of Japanese legend. I mean, like, Black Forest is practically already in the game, so probably can't be that. But wonder if we maybe gonna be getting like a stealth forest. Because actually, there is a stealth mechanism, so we might be getting that. Because there's shinobis are having some stealth mechanism, right? And the kitsunes, or what is, how are they right now called? Kitsunes, no? So maybe we are actually gonna be getting what is an Age of Empires 4, like the hiding forest, where you can hide and you cannot be scouted there. Maybe it's gonna be making an appearance here. Anybody's guess is if it's gonna be a good idea. Probably not gonna be changing anything too significantly, to be honest. And whether facing friends online or perfecting your build orders in solo skirmish, these new environments offer fresh tactical challenges and strategic depth. Let's hope that they will. Journey from farmer to hero, an all-new campaign. Heavenly Spear follows Yasuko, a peaceful farmer's daughter whose destiny changes when she discovers a magical spear hidden in the countryside. So it's gonna be probably the same information we have already had, maybe. As war looms and chaos spreads across the land, Yasuko is thrust into a world of gods, monsters, and mortal ambition. With the guidance of Akari, guardian of the spear, Yasuko must uncover the relic's secrets and prevent it from falling into the hands of Kagemasa, a ruthless warrior who seeks to imprison the sun goddess Amaterasu and claim godhood for himself. Yasuko's journey spans 12 handcrafted campaign missions, each rich with cinematic storytelling, unforgettable characters, and escalating stakes. Along the way, she'll face mythical beasts, forge divine alliances, and battling against Kagemasa to restore balance to the world. Well, hopefully it's gonna be some good fun for the campaigners. So you can of course pre-order that if you don't have the deluxe version already. So feel free to do so if you are interested in the new content. And, well, in a month, we're gonna be getting some new information. Oh, probably, even within the next weeks, you're gonna be getting some kind of like wind in, you could say, with some info. Gamescom will be. I'm expecting there's gonna be some playable scenario in there. And then, well, month after, 30th September, we're gonna be getting the game. And the new DLC. So right about now, the campaign missions just gonna reminds me again. Not sure if you noticed that, but Capture Age had to be actually letting go some people from their team. Capture Age is the team that was beyond the observer interface, mostly in AoE 2. They have done also AoE 4 and Age of Mythology Retold here as well. But those are pretty trash, both of them. So that was kind of embarrassing work, especially when you compare to what they have done for AoE 2. But I guess Microsoft didn't pay them for anything more. And they also were dabbling in campaigns and some DLCs for Age of Empires 2, and they have released quite a successful one with the Athenian Wars, if I'm not mistaken. But like, I don't know, it is already like a year ago, the Chronicles, and they were having plans for further ones. There should be like further Chronicles, if I'm not mistaken, like here in autumn somewhere, unless that has been somehow quietly cancelled as well, but that should have been a thing. No, and they had to be actually letting go of the principal campaign makers. So evidently, World's Edge and Age of is basically winding down a bit. Question is how much, but also on the player numbers and viewer numbers rather, it is quite a bit evident that interest is slightly going down. I think that the player numbers on the main titles are pretty solid. AoE 4 is also doing pretty nicely lately. Maybe better than you'd be expecting, and the game is in a solid state per the players' opinions. So we'll see what's gonna be the future holding. No, but of course, considering what kind of state as far as the interest Age of Mythology is, anybody's guess how long the support is gonna be continuing regarding tournaments for the next year. There are literally 2 tourneys, which is already probably more than you'll be even expecting. I'm thinking that it's actually a mistake. Simply, they don't care about competitive gameplay. So that's why they are gonna be $10,000 tournaments. But it would have been much better for the community if the $10,000 was spread into 5 tournaments per 2K. You'll be having 5 tourneys, basically like maybe 1 per each month, and for 2K. Because 1 tournament per half a year for 10K, it does nothing for the game. Absolutely, utterly nothing. It doesn't improve activity, nothing else. Like really. And if you would be actually including more community in more activity longer in there, you'll be actually doing a lot more for like the long-term interest of players than actually this. I mean, like, sure, players are gonna be still wanting to play in the tournament, but you're gonna be having some kind of maybe empty spots where not much is happening here. And it would have been better for the community. Simply lower price pool, still interesting one for such a game that we have. I mean, like, it's not entirely too far in the past where $1,000 tournaments were absolutely huge for Age of Mythology. It's like a year, 2 years ago, where that was still a thing. So why not go back to that and have a lot more? But that's not entirely what World's Edge and Microsoft want to be doing. Yes, want to be, of course, using it for advertising of the game. So just kind of hoping that for them, they are interested in just gonna get in some higher price boost so that it's talked about a bit. Not entirely what maybe is the best for the community. But nonetheless, it's something for the players, of course, to look forward to. Same as right now all the information that we have gotten here today. So, thank you therefore very much to World's Edge and all the involved studios, Forgotten Empires, and I'm not entirely certain which other ones are involved still here. You can actually see it here. Tantalus Media, Capture Age, and Virtuos Games, all of them are right now involved here. So, thanks, I guess, for the work and for the info. And do we have something maybe new here? I'm not entirely certain if maybe we have seen all the pictures, if there aren't some new ones, if it's maybe already from the video that we have seen from that trailer. This one kind of seems maybe a bit new, possibly. Is there something there? What is this? Some kind of interesting blobs. No idea what actually that could be. Market, of course, on the left side. Look at that. That's curious. Look at the deer on the left side. It's actually having colors for the player. Another one there. Oh, so that's actually gonna be some kind of combination that's in AoE 4, for example, with the Russians. They have like a landmark that's gonna be generating animals. So that seems like that's gonna be probably some kind of similar mechanisms, maybe. That market is gonna be generating animals for you or whatnot. It's a bit odd that they are actually right now flagged as the player color, so it's a bit confusing. And I'm not entirely certain if that's gonna be like a trade caravan. I'm not sure how they will be making, I don't know, those animals actually work that way. So that's a bit interesting point though. It's gonna be some maybe further mechanism. Guess that maybe this might be therefore some wonder for the civilization, not sure. Spearmen, cavalry. Yeah, we have seen just the normal units in the trailer. Okay, so this one is gonna be a new image, I guess. That's gonna be right now the Titan. On the left side here, this big boy. Can say right now the myth unit is gonna be hybrid. Basically the same as we were having the salamanders in the original game. Currently we have also, or in the extended edition for the Chinese, we also have right now one hybrid currently in Chinese now, so the Japanese are gonna be taking the same. And looks like this is gonna be the god power. Somewhat like the Typhoon or whatnot. All the way on the left. Otherwise, something curious here, not probably anything too specific. Huh. Look at that tree here. So that's a tree, and it's having some fence around it, which is also colored. So is that gonna be like how they get their favor? Some myth unit here to the bottom, by the way, as well. So yeah, it kind of feels like really some kind of version of shrines is probably how they get favor. It's just like so far, obviously speculation, but it feels like that's maybe what's gonna be fit in. And this kind of is very interesting there for the tree. It's some kind of tree shrine therefore. And also it's very interesting to be having those kind of like blocks. They also do have a player color. That's something that we have already mentioned and noticed before in the trailer. So it seems like maybe there's gonna be some specific fortification for the Japanese, or maybe they're not gonna be having walls. I don't know. On the trailer they were having some walls, but maybe it could be campaign. I mean, like in Age of Empires 2, for example, Goths cannot be built in stone walls, so maybe there's gonna be some twist regarding that. Further picture here. Okay, so seems like they're gonna be taking right now the same, almost the siege crossbows from the Chinese. Maybe if it's not gonna be absolutely the same. As the hero, that is one of the campaign things as well, or characters. Another lot of spies, but this time they don't seem to be really colored. So that's gonna be probably something for the campaign more than anything. Now there are walls, and they definitely look not like what we have so far. So now they're gonna be having normal walls in here, so those blocks are probably gonna be something else. Seems like the walls are gonna be normal. Some pagodas, but they don't seem to be colored, so I guess it's gonna be some kind of campaign thing possibly. Even though they have plenty of them, so hard to say. Maybe that's also not gonna be some further mechanism. This picture we have seen, and this one as well. Okay, so maybe a few new pictures therefore to maybe analyze for you and have a look at, but it looks like it's gonna be there for it for the information that they have revealed at least so far, so feel free to look at it. And we just given it into the chat as well in case you haven't found it. It's of course also linked in the Discord or simply on their Age of Empires web and I guess all their socials. So thanks for the info, I guess, to the devs, WorldSearch and everybody else involved, Forgotten Empires, and as he mentioned as well, also to Tantalus Media, Capture Age and Virtuos Games. And well, feel free to pre-order if you are of that mind. I never recommend pre-ordering because it's just like very bad practice, because you should be buying what you already know and how it works and how it is. Just kind of don't buy rabbit in the sack, or actually hair in the sack as we say in Czech. But if you are so intent on it, you know that you're gonna be buying it. I don't know, up to you, but never recommend never recommend pre-orders, because it's quite a bit of an anti-consumer practice in general, because they just get in the money earlier, and therefore they have practically no motivation to finish properly, release in some proper state. You know how it goes in today's gaming industry, unfortunately. But well, nonetheless, this is what you're gonna be there for. Gonna be enjoying, hopefully, in about 2 months. Not exactly 2 months, because it's 30th today. And you can also therefore maybe have some further speculations on all the info, and feel free to therefore post wherever you can about that. So yeah, thank you therefore for watching and for maybe listening to some of the opinions. Already can definitely see some kind of scenarios with things, so we'll see how balanced it is going to be. But no, considering that balance is still an issue currently in the game, then this is gonna be definitely throwing quite a massive size wrench into all of that, in my opinion. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I've been Blackadder at Blackadder's Place. Hope you enjoyed, and well, see you later.